Welcome to Quilt Blocks on American Barns. I'm Eleanor Burns. Today we're going to make the block called the Harvest Star. And this one is beautiful in barn red and country blue with just a touch of navy. You know, the quilting is great with 1/4-inch quilting around the block and then free motion ovals stitched in the center. Perfect. Well, this quilt was made by Diana Edgemon. She created this warm, down-home country feeling with her choice of Kansas Troubles fabrics. Her quilt fulfills a dream of driving down country roads with her husband in America's heartland. They still haven't had a chance to do that yet, so this is their retirement quilt. Notice there are no animals in this quilt. Well, I love her paisley monitor barn with the checked wagon door and then her windmill standing to the side. Just great. And then in her Gothic barn, the rock foundation fabric is perfect. Diana stitched straight lines for wood slats, and the roof was outlined with a black satin stitch. Looks perfect. And then I think the wagon wheel has the best choice of colors. You know, you can actually see the illusion of spokes in the block. I like the cups and saucers because she fussy cut a large rose in the center square. And then that same fabric print is also found in the flying kite block. Great. Well, the two Americana star blocks portray the essence of this striking country quilt. And then she used up every little smidgen of scraps in her checkerboard border. Great. Well, finishing this quilt was a way to live out Diana's fantasies. So let's get started. This is the Harvest Star block made in patriotic colors. It's beautiful with red in the very center, followed with white, and then red tips. The trickiest part is getting this blue triangle to line up with all of the diamonds. Well, we have that same block hanging on the outside of our Quilt in a Day building. It is larger than life. When you come around the corner, there is no missing this Harvest Star. Well, we copied the colors that were used in the block on the Payton farm. This is the barn owned by Harold and Sue Payton. They were the first to paint a block and hang it in Sac County, Iowa on their corn crib. Oh, it is great. You know, this corn crib is pretty old. It was actually built in 1948, but Harold's family has owned the farm that this corn crib is on since 1891. He is actually 4th generation. That is a long time to live on a farm, isn't it? Well, they say that diamonds is a girl's best friend, and I've got some tricks to make it your best friend. So it strips, that's what's the fun part of it. This is for the 12-inch barn, and these little strips are actually 1 3/4 inches wide, and when you sew them together and press them and measure them, the two of them have to measure 3 inches. That's your first trick. Make sure you get the right seam. Might not be a perfect quarter, not a scant kind of in between. So measure and make sure the two are 3 inches wide. And then to make cutting the diamonds easy, I took glow line tape and I put it on my 6-inch ruler at 1 3/4 inch mark. So on the other side of 1 3/4, I've got it all lined up. So let's take the 1/4-inch line on the left end of the strip and just line it up like this. We have to get that perfect 45-degree angle cut first. So cut it. This is extra. Get rid of it. Now these diamonds are cut at 1 3/4. So take the 45-degree line, place it across the top, put the glow line tape at 1 3/4 down along that cut edge. And if you can just go ahead and keep that measurement going the whole way across, you're going to have it perfect. Out of one whole strip, you need to cut 16 of them. You need 16. Ooh, I'm looking good already. I think I'll just cut 2 more, and then I'll have 2 pairs that I can make for you and show you how to go on. Okay, keep that lined up. Good. Well, this is for the 12-inch. The 6-inch has such cute little pieces. You know, the strips are actually 1 1/8 inches wide. When you piece them together, press the seam towards the red and remeasure. This should be 1 5/8. It's good to start out at that width of strip. Well, I put glow line tape at 1 1/8, right along there, 1 1/8, and again, just line up that 45-degree line across the top, the 1 1/8 on that raw edge, and cut. Oh, such cute little guys. Look at this. And that's what those diamonds are going to look like. But we're working with 12-inch, so let's get those started. Now, I do like to pin these. I think that's the best way to get a perfect match. Stack up your pairs. You've got 1 red here, and let's take the second one, turn it upside down. And this is what you want to get matched. So I like to just flip it right sides together. I use extra fine pins and measure in 1/4 inch and stand your pin up. Then fold it back, measure in 1/4 inch and just push it in there. And then once you have the 2/4 inches lined up, take that standing pin and just pull it in so they're tight together and turn the edges so they're all lined up. And right up at the top, you have approximately a 3/8 inch tip at the very top, and it should be exactly the same down at the bottom. I'm just going to line it up like that. And when your stitches start, they should go right in here in this valley of the 2 pieces. I like to line them up with the pins because it seems to me it's easier if I take time to pin than unsew later. So I highly recommend that. And just start sewing, and as you go along there, go ahead and use your stiletto to keep it lined up. And just as you're getting into that pin, just a stitch or 2 ahead of it, then take it and pull it out. Just keep on going. We need to make 8 pairs like this, so let me just take 1 more, line it up like that, flip it right sides together, standing pin, and I put it more on the white side because it's thicker than it would be thicker on the red side. There's the white standing pin. Go right here, stand it up, squeeze it together, and just keep on going. You know, in the fall, they always had corn huskings in the olden days. Such fun social event, just like a quilt. A quilting bee, it would be a corn husking bee. Now I'm just going to pull out that pin, and it's almost a time for dating as well, because they would husk those corn ears, throw them against the barn door, and if a fellow was lucky enough to find a little red kernel in his ear, that meant he got to run over and kiss the girl of his choice. So that sounds like fun. So put your pieces on your pressing mat with the stitching across the top and just open and press up to it. This is so we're setting it up for all those locking seams. Perfect. Looking great. So I'm just going to take these, finish cutting all my diamonds, and sew them together so they look just like this one. These seams are going to work for you because they lock together. You just have to take your pairs, turn them around, turn your diamonds around so that you can make sure that the seam on this side goes up underneath. And I left the seam allowance right here so you can see that the seam goes down. Well, now that you know that, I'm just going to go ahead, cut off that seam and flip it right sides together. So right here, the diamonds lock. You want to lock up at the tip, that's good, and right down at the bottom. Now this is the place where you need to stop 1/4 inch away. So I like to use my 6-inch ruler, especially because of that 1/4 inch seam. Take a marking pen, something that you can see. I'm going to do it dark so everybody can see it, but yours should be light. I'm lining up the 1/4 inch line right on this very edge, and I'm marking an X. It's like they say, X marks the spot. So right here is where I want to stop sewing. So let's just get it going. I changed my 1/4 inch foot and I put on an open toe foot because I really like to see where I have to stop. At the top, you go clear up to the very top. It is the same 1/4 inch that I was using with my 1/4 inch foot. But this is right where I want to stop. So let's just pull that pin out and right at that, perfect. I'm going to lock my stitches. Just take a couple of stitches so it doesn't fall apart and then cut my threads. We're going to check it out. Perfect. Okay, right there is my dot. I stopped right in the dot. It matches up here. This locks together. Looking good. So we're just going to open it up. Ooh, and perfect. Now, the next step is to insert the background with this blue triangle. Remember I said that's the tricky part to match. So this is a 4 3/8 inch background square, and this little guy on here is just 2 1/4 inches. So I already drew a line corner to corner and stitched on that line. So now just go ahead, put your 1/4 inch line right on that stitching and cut off your tip right there. Get rid of it and then open and press so that it goes towards the blue corner. Got one all pressed. It's ready to insert right in here. And so once again, we need to do some marking. I want to mark this tip so that we can fit it right into that 1/4 inch point. So I'm just going to turn it over on the wrong side. Now I really have to use this fat dark line so you can see it. You can certainly use a finer mark, but if I didn't, you guys would never see this. So draw an X. Perfect, there it is. And this little X, you start with a pin right in it and just open this up, and we're going to turn this around so this pin goes right where you ended. Let's see, and just swing it around. Oh, and we've got to match this seam right here and lock that together. It's looking great. But just think, this is the first of 4. But by the time you're done, you'll be perfect at it. Okay, I'm just going to get my needle lined up at that dot, right at that pin. Put needle down, stop, match this opposite edge, press your foot down. Ooh, step on the gas, and I am hoping. So let's get back to that fella with that red corn. You know, some of the guys wanted a kiss so bad from a special girl that they would actually come into the husking party with that corn already in their pocket so that they could just pull it out and say, I've got it, I've got it. Okay, let's take a look. This is loose up here by 1/4 inch down to the bottom. Let's see if it's matched. Perfect, that's looking good. So now all we have to do is just swing this around and sew the opposite side. You're just going to start right at that quarter inch point, stitch off the end, and then when you open it up, like magic, it's going to look just like that. And of course, I have some ready to go. This is what it looks like. And all you have to do is just take your ruler and your cutter and just cut off those strips right at the side. It's going to have little tips right there. Take 4 of them and lay them out into the star. So now take the vertical row on the right and flip it over to the left. Get it all lined up. And we're going to always lock our seams. They're going to be perfect. These are going to lock. These are going to lock. Everything's going to lock. I already put my little 1/4 inch marks in. So let's just see if I can slide it over here and get that all matched. So at the top, you want to put your needle down. Oops, I'm losing my stiletto. Okay, put your needle in on that mark. Oops, not quite. Gotta have it perfect. Okay, it's good. Now, go right here. This red is going to line up. Use that 1/4 inch seam. Press your foot down. Step on the gas. Line that up. And right here in the center, they will also line up. So you can just roll them in with each other, lock them together. Just hold your seams flat going across there. Well, the girl at the husking, she could find a red kernel in her ear, and she got to choose who she got to kiss. Lots of fun. Okay, let's just pick this up, butt this right through there, raise that presser foot, go across. I've got my X right here. Make sure that these little pieces line up, and we're gonna stitch right down there and stop on the X, lock the thread, and cut. Perfect. So let's just see if they match. Looking good. Right along there. These match right here. Good. This is great. And we've got it open 1/4 inch at the top and at the bottom. So all we have to do is just flip it right sides together. And this is that magic swirling trick. So we have to go right to this center seam. That's the most important thing. Let's start 1/4 inch away from the top. Boy, am I living dangerously now. I didn't even mark it. Well, once you've done it enough, then you always know. You can just guesstimate. At this seam, I'm going to push this top seam up and underneath down. Up on top, down underneath. This is so we can get that seam as flat as we possibly can. Just stitch right across it and line up this opposite end. Lock those seams. That's what I really love about this, how it locks together. And stop 1/4 inch from the end. Lock and cut your threads. We'll see if it matches in the center. Now this is going to be the best part. We're going to sing just like everybody. Ooh, looking good. That is perfect. So the magic of all of this is what you do with this little seam allowance right here. And I'm just dealing with this part. It's 1/4 inch from that center seam out to the edge. All you want to do is just cut that thread, take your stiletto or a seam ripper, and just pick out, it's about 3 stitches. Just pick those out. Good. Turn this around. Pick these out. Just get your stiletto right under those threads. Ooh, pull it. Good. Now, lay it flat, wrong side up, and open that seam and mush that really good right in the middle. Now these seams will swirl from the right to the left and all around. Just let me press that and you are going to be so amazed at how good this looks. Okay, zip it around like this, right in the middle, shot of steam, and check it from the right side. Perfect. Now that you're the master of getting the star center done, those little triangles are going to be a piece of cake. Take a strip that is 2 1/4 inches wide in the background color. Take your 6 1/2 inch triangle square up ruler and place 5 inches across the bottom. This is such a simple way of cutting some trapezoid. So just cut off your strip, and this is extra, get rid of that. And all you need to do is sew a rectangle right across the top of the strip. Well, got one ready. Once again, put that 5 inches back across the bottom, line that up, and just trim off the 2 sides of that blue. Perfect, easy. And then these pieces are going to fit right in here. Do that same marking and pinning one side at a time, and you'll get that whole star sewn together. And then square this one up, to 12.5 inches. So find the 6¼ inch line. This is the 12.5 inch square up ruler. Look for the center point that is 6¼ inches, and just drop that right on the very center. Line up the diagonal line going up and down through this seam. That's looking good. Straight lines here. Everything is parallel. Make sure you have 1/4 inch all around the outside. Ooh, it is looking good. You are going to be very proud of this block. So then just hold it down nice and flat. Go up and around one side. Just take this, get rid of it, pick up your block, turn it, and put 12.5 on the outside edge, and just go ahead and trim up those last 2 sides. It's perfect. Now the little 6-inch guy actually can be squared up with a 6.5 inch triangle square up ruler. Do the same line up with the diagonal line right down through the middle, the 6.5, 6.5 going that way, and just trim around those 4 sides. Well, it's so great if you just take 4 12-inch blocks and 4 6-inch blocks, do a little bit of mitering in those corners. You can make a beautiful quilt. Get it all done, and we will be at the corn husking just singing and dancing. The Harvest Star block is actually quite old. Well, history dates the block to the late 1890s. Published by the Ladies Art Company. They are credited to be the first mail-order quilt pattern company. Well, I found a very early catalog that lists 390 patterns. Well, the Harvest Star is number 372. It's right here. And I am certain that they didn't make it with strip piecing. In fact, I know the pattern came with very little instructions. Well, I found this Lady Arts Company envelope mailed to Mrs. Charles Adamson in Gooding, Idaho for 1.5 cents. No street address, no zip code. But inside is pattern number 261. This is how it comes. Well, as the catalog says, these patterns are beautifully colored, and they're printed on heavy cardboard, all for 10 cents. Or if you would like 15, you could get them for $1. And then inside are the paper templates. It's just amazing. And you know, by 1906, their catalog included 460 patterns. Well, this quilt pattern is very similar to the Harvest Star, with 30 blocks at 5 by 6, but only 24 Harvest Star variation, with the remaining spots filled in with a variety of patterns. Up here is wagon wheel in each of the corners, and then there's also some drunkard's path down the sides, and then there's several variations across the bottom. Well, the modern day quilters, we're always stressed if we run out of fabric, but not this quilt maker. She said red is red, and that's good enough. So she used several fabrics in different reds to complete the blocks. They're great, great scrappy blocks. And you know, the triangles are actually larger in this pattern too. And they didn't need to match the diamonds. This was easier, I believe. Then the red lattice and the hand quilting is lovely. You know, this quilt could have possibly been made for the 1876 centennial celebration. The backing is a darling calico print. I just love this. It's a great quilt. Actually, I bought it near my birthday. Well, Ruth Finley named this pattern Harvest Sun as well as Ship's Wheel. Well, Finley said that names vary from place to place. I don't think these diamonds were strip pieced either. The fabrics are beautiful with turkey red stars and then white and blue surrounding the diamonds. Butternut background, love butternut. And then the poison green fabric just an old great geometric pattern. Well, you know, the setting is interesting to me with stars on the ends of the lattice because I thought this was a contemporary setting. These quilts were made around the 1800s, late 1800s. Well, the backing is surprising too because it's a very tiny homespun check. Feels great. Wonderful old quilt. And this one is called Sassy Stars, made recently by my assistant, Sue Bouchard. And I know it was made from strips. They were 1.5 inch wide from a package of honey buns. You get that scrappy fun look with 3 different strips for each star. Well, the diamonds were made exactly as I showed you in the harvest star, but the background was made of triangles, so there are no inset seams. Well, Sue set the stars together with lattice and cornerstones and then finished off the outside edge with a charming scallop and bias binding. I love it. Well, no matter what pattern you choose to make, may you enjoy your quilting.